Okay, so I should mention this. So these two platforms would go on the right and left side of the barge ramp. Okay, and I made these out of 80 thou evergreen plastic sheet. Okay, it's fairly thick, but you know, I like to use 80 thou whenever I want to install railings, if I can get away with it. Like if the profile shows that it's thinner than this, well then I'll have to either go with that or make a compromise. But I like 80 thou, and in this case, this fits the photograph well. Like this profile looks, appropriate. Okay, because I find that 80 thou is a really good base to support 0.5 millimeter brass railings. And I like to use number 9860.5 mil by K&S brass for almost all my railings in HO and O scale. Okay, it's just my standard sort of application. I'll make compromises now and again. If it's larger like O and then I want to use a thinner like a 0.3 or 0.2, 0.5 or something, but I generally build all my railings out of this. I did all the warehouse railings and stair railings from this, and then I used 5 mil drill bit into 80 thou plastic, okay? And if you're wondering what this angle is on here, this is number 291 angle, right? And that again is from the photo. Whether it's exact to the prototype, I do not know, but it's close enough, right? Okay, and then I'll build railings like they're drilled out. So you can see the holes there. I drilled holes for the railings. And when I build my railings, I build them so that I can push them. Like let's just say this is the railing that I'm setting up here, so I can push them all the way through, okay? And I leave them longer so that I can adjust them. Okay, like, and then when I glue them in place, I nip off the bottom and then sand it. I use thin CA, the blue thin CA. I've done this before in the warehouse builds. You see where I build these railings. And then I use them to actually, like this slab will actually support, the railing when I solder them up. So I just bend them, I sort of eyeball them and bend them. Sometimes I run out a bit and I just redo it. So you can straighten brass out too with a flat pair of pliers. So that's what I do. And then with these, I'll probably just spot tack them, like on the board here, so it holds them still. So when I solder the railings, I can put it over the side like that. Okay, so I have my base platforms now for the kiosks on the side of the ramp. And what I've done is there's two, right and left. So I just tack them on the end of this scrap piece of plywood here. And what I did was I just take a little spot of medium CA. I just put a tiny spot right there. I use this to anchor small parts all the time and then just pop them off later. Okay, so that's on there good and solid. It's just a tiny spot. That's all you need to hold them in place. And then if you want to, well, you'll have to. Later you just go like that and it'll just pop right off and you can just scrape off the bottom, clean it up. You won't see it anyway there. That way I can handle the pieces as little models, with a more stable platform, especially when I'm going to be soldering here and so on. So yeah, the reason why they're mounted there is, so see how the holes are not impeded there. That way when I build the railings a little bit longer than they need to be, I can protrude them down through the bottom like that. And then I can come in with my spacer. In this case, if this is a 40-inch railing, this is 40 inches, the width of this ruler in HO scale. I just go like that, and I take some thin CA. See how thin, the watery thin CA? That acts really fast. And then I just wick in with a little pick into the bottom, and these are solid and good to go. Then I lay up all my railings like that, and then I can solder my cross pieces. And it's good to go, So I could just build off of that, right? Okay. Okay, so here's a little sample of how I get my right angle bends accurate to these holes, okay? So in a sense, this base platform is the actual jig. So I want to run this railing. I mean, you can do it this way. You can do it other ways as well, but I like to try to make it all into one piece if I can, like most of it. So I'm going to have this like that, okay? And then I'm going to have a separate riser or post here in the corner. But I want to make a right angle bend to run down this way. So see, I can basically just drop it down and flush like that, right? And now I know where the hole is, so I can grab it with the pliers. So I'll run the upright like that, and then slide this up. Run it on the inside or the outside. It's up to you. Okay? Okay, so if you get all your angles accurate, and when you put your verticals in, everything, like once you glue it and fix it in place, everything will straighten out reasonably well for you. Once you solder corners like this and so on. But when you get these pinned, that's why I like to do this top piece as one piece, because all I got to do is glue this corner and this one. You get the height right, and then this can be adjusted as I solder it, and I leave this running out and this running out a bit on the bottom until I solder that. Then I can tweak it all, right? Like this corner, so that it starts to form my railing, see? Okay, so these are all soldered up now. I didn't cover it because I've covered it 3 or 4 times with all the railings and all the warehouse builds. It's the same thing. You just you solder on the tip with some flux. You just hold the rod, the length against it, touch it, and it's done. Then you snip it all off. I got to do some file work here now, but you can see, they turned out pretty good. This is all stuff that if I bang it or tweak it, it's not going to break. And there's some plastic work, like simulated wood and cabinetry, that I'll build in plastic on the inside of this. And then if you want to clean it up, like the flux, see all the flux build up? I just take a bit of 99% isopropyl alcohol and just scrub it down with an old brush. She comes out crystal clean. And then what I'll do is I'll take my file and I'll just clean up the joints a bit. Okay. Now, even if the IPA eats away at the CA, which it can do, don't really have problems with it. Like once in a while the railing will pop. Well, that's fine. Just add another little bead of glue to it. See, like that one there, see? But anyway, there you have them, right? The basic structure of the brass railings. It kind of reminds me of the gangplank wings on the Titanic. Anyway, so then I'll just pop these off, or I'll leave them on like until I feel they want to take them off, because it's nice to have something to hold these parts with, when you're modeling a few other things. Okay. Okay, so I scrubbed these down with isopropyl. They're still attached to the stick, and then I took a toothbrush and some dish soap just to clean the IPA away and just any other little debris that might be caught or in and amongst all these little joinery here and stuff, so they're nice and clean. And now I'm just going to pop these off. See, just like that. CA. So see, a spot of CA will hold this through the whole build process and soldering, dipped in IPA as well, and then washed, and it still holds. And then you just take your little wedge knife and you just pop them off. That's all. Okay. Okay, so these are all cleaned up nice now, and then what I do is there's little knobbies on the bottom here from the brass railings. So I just take my sanding stick. This is just about 120 grit or so. 200 grit, 150 will be fine. Just give it some rubs on there and it'll clean them up nice. You can see how tough these railings are too. You can really manhandle them too, which is nice. Okay. And then there's my two kiosk platforms for the barge ramp head that provide access to the towers, one on each side.